Yes.
Okay. All right. So we were at this one, right? This is the application that we were working with yesterday. And so till now we have seen that, I mean, we have started working with one-to-many relationship, and that's why we have named our database accordingly. And then we saw certain attributes that we add within this DVD relationship method, right? So this backpopulates, what does it suppress, right? And how it is helping us to access a component of one table from another, right? So this is what we have seen. Just wanted to know if there is any doubt from the previous session to anybody. Okay, fine. So I hope you have gone through the session once again. Only if you, I mean, if you have any doubts regarding what we did. All right, yeah, there is a hand raised. Srinivas, tell me.
So I have a doubt about the route, sir.
Route.
The app.config line on the RHS side.
Yeah.
On the RHS side.
RHS, okay.
How to write that route? I'm not clear. Relative path, absolute path. I'm not clear about what is being written.
Okay, so see, currently you don't have to worry about relative and absolute path. This will create your database in your current working directory. I mean, what you need to write is this much. This much is something which is this thing till here, right? So SQLite colon and 3 slashes. What will it do? It will create your database in the current working directory. So this is something that you need to keep common anywhere you're working. Okay.
So I don't have to change if I'm using Ubuntu based distribution. I don't have to change those signs and all that I have, that forward slashes.
No, you don't have to. So this config is specific to Python. All right. So once you are within writing a Python file, it will and this is how the documentation suggests that, okay, this is how you have to configure it, right? So it will take
documentation
care
has
of it.
one more slash and I'm facing error since yesterday. That is why I was asking.
Okay, so yeah, so the thing is, in documentation, they have also used a folder called temp, right? I guess they have done something like this.
Yes, a folder cast temp and the screencast uses a different method. That is why I'm asking.
Okay, so see, yeah, so what is happening in screencast is we are using OS module, all right? From that, using that OS and path and sys, 3 modules are used. Path is one of the methods, right? So OS and sys, what they do is they help you they help the developer to get the current working directory. Okay, right? So what is the thing? So even if I change the folder, I change the entire folder structure. I mean, I change as in, for let's say I have this solve with instructor week 5, right? So if I take my folder structure to some other directory and then run the file, it will not make any issue, right? It will find the absolute path of that particular file, link it with the current working directory, and make the database there itself, right? What we are doing is we are within this folder and we are expecting that the database should form within this current working directory. So we are not really bothered with what is happening or what is the total complete path of our database. Okay, so in the screencast, it is more generic, right? And I guess I've also in the last session, I mean yesterday's session, I said that I will do that. I mean, take a smaller, a small piece of session or in coming session and tell you what that particularly those 3 lines of code are doing in in the screencast. Okay.
Okay, I'm facing an error, but I'll try again. Since you're saying this is a relative path, I will try. Maybe I've written something error and I'll try again.
So what are you using? Are you using Ubuntu or Windows?
Ubuntu, sir. Technical Ubuntu, yes.
Okay, fine. All right. Yeah. So see, this is the configuration which is the documentation gives is not specific to operating system, right? So it should work. If if it doesn't work, it will just let me know. I mean, you put it on the Discord, the screenshot, and probably.
Because I have taken the default text from the documentation, sir, and I just copy pasted the text from the documentation directly and tried it. And here I'll try again. Maybe some.
Okay, fine. So have you used this? I mean, the documentation says /, right? Have you used this?
Documentation just / and goes into temp.db. That I've tried. These 3 slashes is relative path. I've tried many variations. I've tried, sir, but somehow it's not working. Anyways, I'll try again, and maybe something else is missing from my end.
Yeah, okay. So even if I may be missing something, that is maybe I'm not aware of the case that you're talking about, right? So just let me know, so that even if I go through it, I'll come to know, okay, what was the actual issue.
Because if you go by the screencast version, there once you take it from OS and syspath, then you will get the slashes you don't have to worry about, because / // you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, that's what. So that is what. That is more generic. This is more specific to our working directory.
But if you're saying this is working in the relative path, it should also work. Maybe I'll try again, sir. What are the variations possible and check.
Correct. So you just let me know. I mean, put the screencast. Put the screenshots and error of whatever you are getting on the Discourse, and I will try to see that.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
fine. Sir, and if you could explain this backpopulates also, and when the primary key is auto incrementing, sir, that part, why it is auto incrementing, I'm not getting.
Yeah, so see, the thing is, primary key, when you set something to primary key, and as you can see, what is the type of the primary key? It is integer, right? So when it is integer, it knows, okay, the next you have to follow something, an integral scale. I mean, this 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So when you set this primary key to true, 2 things happen along with that. One thing is, okay, that is set to primary key, but along with that, you get 2 additional functionalities which you do not need to do explicitly. What is that? One is the auto increment attribute is set to true, right? That is one thing. And secondly, by default, it becomes non-nullable. That is, you cannot keep it empty.
So if I give a value to the primary key, what happens?
If you give value to primary key,
when you initialize this section via instance, you did not give a value for section ID, right?
Correct.
You just put section name and you completed, you moved forward. But if I give a value for section ID as say 10 and start, what will happen? Madhab, is that then it will break or something?
Ideally, I am not sure what will happen, but see, already if you have set the primary key and set it to auto increment, I mean, why would you want to? I mean, why would you
Sir, if I want something to be the primary key but not auto increment to false, that way.
Okay.
So I have a primary key which I am setting with my table. I am setting. I don't want it to be just be a generic incrementer. So how do we go about that?
Okay, that is something we'll have to try. Okay, I'm not really sure, because the way I have, I mean, till now, wherever I've created this kind of table, set something to primary key, my purpose was to set it as auto incremental, right? Otherwise, we are using primary key just to target something. Otherwise, tabulary, you don't, and it should become a foreign, I mean, so that I can select it and make it a foreign key, right? This is something which is by default kept as unique, right? That is why we can easily set it as foreign key. That is the reason we have, I mean, I have used it, right? So maybe we'll have to try that and see. Okay, if we give particularly, forcefully give a value, what will happen?
So in the class book, in the line for sect, SECT, third line.
Yes, third line.
You are setting a foreign key section ID, okay?
Yes.
And you said nullable is equal to false. Matlab, is the foreign key can be nullable, or this can be null, sect can be nullable? Sect,
because this attribute is for sect, not for foreign key. Foreign key, I mean, db.foreign key is, is itself, what you would say, is one of the attributes of sect, right? Similarly, nullable getting false is one of the attributes of sect. Okay.
Madhab, can I summarize and say it can either be nullable or a foreign key? It can either be a null value or a foreign key value, but cannot be any other value.
It can be any other value if you set it, right? If you set that, it will be that value.
That is why we said as a constraint. That is why we put a constraint as foreign key, right?
Yeah. So why is it? Why are we setting it? Because we want to relate it to the section table, right?
So
Section
when we
class.
relate it, that is our constraint. So we should not allow anything except that section.section ID, right?
Yeah, that's what. So that is why we are setting this attribute here.
So the values in the what if there is a column called sec in the table called book. The values in that column can only be either null or the foreign key of section.section ID.
So if you're setting this nullable equals to false, you cannot keep it null, right? Nullable is false.
Acha, nullable is false. Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. So it will every time it will take a value, and that value will be the foreign key.
Okay, sir. No, I was thinking nullable is equal to true, and I was calculating.
Okay. Yeah. So let's say if you don't set this. You don't set this. So there is no obligation for you to provide a foreign key as a sec parameter, right? You can keep it as null, no issues.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so if you're not setting it nullable, I mean, if this is not set as nullable, it can either you give a foreign key or you give null. I guess the case that you were saying previously. Right?
Oh, sir, I also have one doubt.
Yeah.
I was doing the week 5 assignments, and over there I'm exactly doing it how it was shown in the screencast, but when I am going to run it, they are giving it one error of operational error that there is no column such as course.course_description, whereas everything is same, like even the spelling and everything is same, but still it is giving an error.
So no columns no column in the table.
Yes, that is the error which is being given, but my database is having that column with the same spelling and everything.
Okay, see, generally what happens is whenever you make some changes in the schema, for some reason, if the changes are done, okay, it will be a good idea to delete the database and form it again. Okay. In that case, it will incorporate the changes. Okay. So what happens is it's not by mistake. It's like while typing, we say, okay, let us set this as something like this. Let us set it as true. Nullable true. Okay, let us auto increment it. So some of these values are set. Okay. However, what these things do, they change the schema of your database. The table in the database. Right. So that is not reflected there, even if you have the same column. So what you can try out is delete the database and create it again.
Okay, so just fully again redo that database creation part.
Yeah. So with fully what you have to do is just delete the database. For example, from here, right? Just delete it like this. Okay. And then how did we create database? Just open the Python interpreter and do db.creator. Import db and do db.creator.
Okay.
Okay. Then it will not show that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now next thing is backpopulates. Like why we were doing backpopulates. So yes.
So yesterday when you were saying there is something called session and commit, is it that when it is session it is in the RAM, and when you're doing commit it is going into the ROM or the hard disk? Is that way?
Yeah, you can say that.
It is being moved from the RAM to ROM. That is what is happening.
Yeah, you can say that. So the shell that it creates, the session, what I said is the temporary container. So yeah, you can call it RAM. But once the data, the changes are committed, it goes to the database. Where is your database? On ROM. So yeah.
And SQLite 3 is just a file. It does not have any other thing. We don't have to install anything, right? SQLite what is being generated is just a file, right?
Yeah, it's just a database file. Yeah, just a database file.
Okay, and the extension has any significance? No. It is just a file, right?
Yeah. SQLite 3 is again a database extension. You can use MyDB, I mean my data database om.db also as an extension. Okay, but it is just to specify that we are using version 3 of SQLite, so we give that. It is just the convention that we have been following through.
Okay, sir.
All right, so you can also give .db as extension. No issues.
Okay, sir.
All right, yeah, but see, if you are using that, let's say if you are using MySQL database, SQLite 3 will not be, I mean, that is pretty obvious, right? So you have to give extension depending on what database you are using.
My question is, if you are using that flask-sqlalchemy thing, the output, how you are confirming that is output is coming as SQLite 3 only is my question.
Yeah, so flask-sqlalchemy is taking care of that thing. Okay, so currently,
there might be an option to change that thing from SQLite 3 to something else.
No, SQLite 3 is so this extension that we are seeing is SQLite 3. We are making sure that we are using the third version. I mean, the database is set based on the third version of SQLite. Is that what we are seeing? I mean, I'm not really getting your question, by the way.
Sir, question is, suppose we have gone through the entire process. We've installed Flask. We've installed flask-sqlalchemy. We've installed two things in this environment. We are generating a file name which has an ending in extension in SQLite 3. We are generating a file. Give it any name. It should not matter. Point number one. You give it SQLite 1, SQLite 2, whatever name you give, it should not matter. Point number one.
Okay.
But the output that is coming is exactly the format in SQLite 3.
Okay.
So who is taking care of this, and what am I missing something? This is happening exactly this way.
Okay. So you're saying that so .SQLite 3 we are giving the extension, but how are we making sure that this extension is working? I mean, my data b.om.SQLite 3 is working.
In file naming convention, SQLite is only for us humans. It does not make any sense for the computer. You give any extension.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
See, the thing is, but no. See, extension also. See, why do we give extension? File name is okay. File name is for us to understand, but extension is for the compiler to understand, right? How will it understand? How will it read the file? For example, we are setting templates file as .html. How is our browser able to render only HTML files? So extension is important, right?
Technically, no, sir.
Okay.
See, I'll look into it. Maybe something I'm missing. I'm not able to watch it, and I'll get back.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. All right. So these were some of the issues we discussed. Okay. I may not be able to clear everything, but okay. But what I do is I generally keep these things in mind and search for them at the background, right? So that if I come up with a better solution, I put it on this course. Okay, fine. I'll try that.
And sir, the number of things that you imported in the last session, we need all those to do this project, right?
Okay, so you're talking about these things?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so what happens is basically if you even if these many things are installed and written as a requirement.txt, you may have observed that I had only installed Flask and flask-sqlalchemy explicitly. Other things are dependencies which whenever you install these libraries or packages, they will by themselves, I mean the Flask will have its dependencies on these and they will directly get installed by themselves. So you don't have to worry about, okay, you don't have to by heart all those things, whatever is getting installed here.
Okay, sir. So Flask and flask-sqlalchemy installing in these two packages is enough.
Yeah. That is what we have done, right? That is what we have done, and that was sufficient. The packages that you install explicitly may that you install explicitly are sufficient. Okay, and it is not necessary that your requirements.txt will only have those packages that you install. It will definitely have those, but it can have many other extra. Okay, so those are dependencies which you don't have to worry about.
Okay, sir.
Okay, installing Flask will install its dependencies by its own.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so these are some the Flask and flask-sqlalchemy are some of the libraries that we are importing, and others are dependencies. So you don't need to keep in mind only the import. Whatever is written in the import statement, because those are explicitly imported. Okay, and other some methods and all that we use. For example, we use Flask. In previous sessions, we have used things like request, which we will be using today also. Okay, so that is the thing. All right, now, okay, so I'll get back to what I was talking yesterday. So we said that, okay, let me open the command prompt also. Yeah, this is the structure. Okay, I'll just open the Python interpreter.
Sir,
Okay, so
how did
yeah.
you increase the text size for that?
Yeah, so you press Control and scroll up.
Okay.
Okay, this will apply for most of the IDs. Okay. All right. So what we did, just I imported everything from my application, and and this is done in the Python shell. So yeah. So what does Backpopulates does? Right. So initially, when we created this section, this part, line number 13, right? So we created that. I mean, the section and books follow one-to-many relationship, right? So whenever I create a section and add some book into that section, I want all those books to form. All those books to get segregated at some place in some collection, and so that I can use them later, right? So that work is done by books, right? So db.relationship book in the section class creates that collection. Okay, so whenever I want to get through the books of a particular section, I'll simply put section.books, right? So just let me show what I was saying. Okay, so here, so we'll create some, I guess we have the database also ready. So then let me open this, close this, and database. Yeah, so this was our yesterday's data. So these are the books, and there is one section. All right, so there are certain sections, and let me see if there is. Yeah, so there is a mathematics section which has multiple books. Okay, so whenever I want to go to mathematics section and find out what books it has, I will refer to the collection which is a part of mathematics section, right? So I'll just import it. Let's say. So whenever I import, import being I make a query to the database, I retrieve objects from the database, right? So S1 will be an object from the database. Okay, object, that is the record from database, is retrieved as an object in Python. Okay, so whenever we are in the interpreter, S1 will have S1 will store the object, but what that object corresponds to, a record in database. Okay, that is what we mean. So I want to retrieve the mathematics one. Right? This is the, sorry, if I go to section, there is mathematics, and I know the section ID, which is the primary key, right? So if I know the primary key, it becomes easy for me to retrieve an object. I just have to do this, right? So it is section.query.get method. So get method is useful when you know the primary key. Okay, so whenever I have the primary key, I can directly retrieve the object. Okay, and now I make use of that collection. Right. So whenever I go with s1.books, it will be the collection that has all the books that belongs to that section. Okay, this is one thing. Now, if I go to, I mean, if I store another book, let's say I retrieve a book from a database, same thing I'll do, but with book dot query dot get. Okay, and let us see one of the primary key, for example, 3. Okay, what is happening? 3. Yeah. Now, if I see book dot section, it is giving you mathematics, right? So how is this possible? Because I have defined, I have what code? I have defined two different columns, right? So these are not actually the actual columns in the database, but these are two collections defined in the classes, right? So these books, and that is why I have that is why I've named them in a way so that I get some information that okay, the section for a particular book will be one section because it is one-to-many relationship, and for the same reason a collection for a section can be multiple. So that is why I've named it as books, and this is not sections, it is only section. Right. Now the thing comes as backpopulates. What is happening here? Whenever I create this relationship, that is db.relationship, what it does is, so how is it able to retrieve these books? Right. So I wrote book s1.books. How was it able to retrieve this? It was able to retrieve this because internally it was making the use of the foreign key attribute which I have set here, the sect one. Right. So it was using the making the use of foreign key attribute of sect, and that is why if you see in the table, only those only those books got retrieved. Right. So it was making the use of foreign key. Right. So what happens? This thing, I mean, this line number 13, books, this relationship makes the use of foreign key, that is section.section ID, to get the collection. Right. Similarly, if I make this section will also make the use of foreign key only. Okay. It will also make the use of foreign key to explicitly say that which section a particular books belong. Okay. If that is the case, I'm doing two things that perform similar thing, but use section.section ID. Right. So what I'm doing, I'm making two collections which are performed on same principle and making the use of same foreign key. So this is like a redundancy in database. Okay, redundancy as in same functions are, I mean, same what is happening, same process is happening. Okay, so what happens? It will, so if I try to do that without using backpopulates, for example, I mean, I'll have to write it again, but see, if I remove this backpopulates.section and backpopulates equals to books from here, it will show me a warning. What is the warning? The same warning which I mentioned here, right? You're using two things which indirectly correspond to the same thing, or indirectly derived from the same thing, that is the foreign key, right? So that is the reason you're having redundancy. How to remove it is to use backpopulates, right? So if I use backpopulates and put it as section, which is this, use backpopulates here and put it as books, which is this, it will not show me that warning because now the redundancy is removed. Okay, there are two ways. One is to either completely remove the redundancy or to suppress the warning that it was shown. To suppress the warning, we had used overlaps, right? So instead of this book backpopulates, we had used overlaps, and there is nothing used here. Okay, so what overlaps does is it does not remove the redundancy, but it suppresses the warning. It will not show you the warning. Okay, so that is what the function of backpopulates is. Okay, now how is it exactly working? I mean, what minute changes you can see while retrieving the data is, if you want to see that, you see the previous session. For some reason, if somebody could not attend previous session, just go through the YouTube and watch the previous session. You will get okay, this is something that to retrieve. This is not what we want. Okay, that you will get. So this was something that was covered in the previous session, yesterday's. Now what I'll do, now whatever we'll do from here is the next step. So what we want to do is, here I observe that, okay, we are using backpopulates twice, right? We are using backpopulates here also, and we are using backpopulates here also. can there be an alternative, right? This is where we have another attribute coming in place, that is Backref, right? So you may have heard about, so initially you may have definitely heard about overlaps and backpopulates, right? And now you also may have heard about Backref, right? So how are these things different from each other is what I've tried to say in yesterday's session and today's session, right? So let's say I want to create a book. Okay, I'll just create a book. Let's say B2. How do you create a book? Just open it like a method and then give book name. Okay, so what book name? I'll also add it to mathematics only. So let's say we'll give it as mensuration. Okay, so book name is mensuration. And apart from this, I also need to define what section it goes to, right? So one way of doing it is to give the sect, right? Because it is a, here if I see, sect is actually a column. Books and section are collections. They are not the actual column of database, but book ID, book name, and sect, and section ID and section name are the actual columns of database, right? So this sect is an actual column. Okay, and what does it take? It takes the section.section ID, which is primary, as an integer, right? So I can simply provide the ID, right? How do I do that? I want it to add to S1 only, right? So what I'll do, I'll just take S1. This is the object, or I think I know the primary key, right? 2, right? I want it to go to section 2, which belongs to, or which refers to mathematics section, right? So if I do this, I'll add the book to the session, and then we'll add this book to the database. Okay, so this is one way of adding the book, right? But if you observe here, I'm using sect, and already what value it takes? It takes integer value, which is the primary key, right? So since now I have the access of database, I can go through and check, okay, this is the section mathematics, which has section ID 2. What if I don't know what section, what primary key or what particular primary key we are talking about, right? So in that case, I need to make some change so that I am able to provide the section even when I don't know what section it is, right? At least get rid of this primary key section ID, right? So this is where this Backref helps us, right? So sorry, yeah. So here we have used here we'll be using Backref not only to remove this backpopulates occurring twice, but also to make use of that Backref property as a Backref property as a argument, as a part, as an attribute of one of the books, right? I'll show you what I'm trying to say. Okay, so what I say, I'll remove this backpopulates, I'll just use Backref. Okay, if I'm using this Backref is doing the job of not only books but also section. Okay, so here I don't need to write at all, I don't need to write this. Okay, I don't need to write this. Okay, because anyway, what was the section? Section was a pseudo column. It was imaginary fake column. It was not the actual column, right? So here this Backref also says that, okay, there is a fake column in book, in the class book. Okay, so if I save this, all you have to do everything from beginning, exit and do back, will show what we are doing. Okay, so here let me go back to the code. All right, so let me add a book. Okay, I will directly add a book, but I need to know, okay, what section I'm trying to put it in. Okay, so what section I'm trying to put it in. Okay, let's say I know that there is mathematics. There is one section called mathematics. I know this. Okay, I don't know the primary key, and I don't have to worry about primary key. What I'll do, I'll simply get that section as object. Okay, so what we'll do is do section, the way we retrieve data with the this query, right? Query dot. Here I don't know what is the primary key. So the what is the other way to use this? Filter by, right? We are using filter by. Okay, now filter by what? The name that we want. Okay, section name. Okay, and that is mathematics, right? This will put section name as mathematics. Now this is I mean, this is something that we are getting from the database, and what we want from here, we want the first thing that satisfies the condition. What is the condition? The section name should be mathematics. I want the first object that satisfies this condition, right? So if I see this, and if I write s1 dot section name, I'll see that it is mathematics. So I have successfully retrieved mathematics section, right? Now if I create a book, say
can we have like multiple rows with the same name like mathematics in this section, because that is something that where we are using that numbers are primary foreign key for that.
See, in the section, if you have set what is the section name, right? This is the class, right? The section name, it is not it. What is the constraint? It cannot be empty, right?
Okay.
So you can have multiple names with the same name, mathematics.
Got it, got it.
Right? To make to make sure that there is only one name, one entry with the name mathematics, you have to set it as unique. Okay. So how to set it as unique? Just put it like this. Unique
equal to true.
Yeah, unique equals to true. Okay, I don't want to do that now, so that is I'm not making that change. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So, correct. And why is this first? Because actually we retrieve everything as collection. Why collection? Because there can be multiple things that follows this condition, or we retrieve the first object, right? Since I know that there is only one object, there is no point of retrieving the collection. That's why I am retrieving only the first, and I directly get the object here, right? So now, if I want to create a book dot, I have to create a book, right? What I'll do, book name equals to okay, again it is mathematics, so let's say area of triangle is the name of book. Now initially what we were doing, we are putting sect equals to 2, right? But now we are not really worried about what is the primary key. Here what we can do, we can just write we can make the use of Backref, right? Okay, what is the Backref? What I have set as Backref? I have set Backref as section, so I can directly use it as an as a one of the columns, right? One of the pseudo columns, but I can use it as column. Section equals to, and directly pass object to it.
One.
Okay, directly pass the object to the the attribute that I've used as Backref. So this acts as a pseudo column. Okay, this will also do the trick, right? So before making any commit, committing it to the database, we can see it here also. So if I see b1 dot section, it will give me mathematics, right? So this is another way where you don't need to worry about what is the primary key, and you don't have to strictly follow the sect, right? That is where Backref helps in, right? So it does two things. It also does what Backpopulates does in both the what it was doing in both the the collections of both the classes, and now it is also taking care of acting as a pseudo column where you can add the value, right? Previously we were not able to add any, assign some value to the pseudo column books, right? We could not assign it, but here we can assign in this table because it is using Backref, right? So Backref helps us in that. Okay, now we can simply commit it.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, when we are writing this section equal to S1, So it's filtering out that foreign key attribute, sir. Am I right, sir?
Where?
Here we are writing after area of triangle, we are writing section equal to S1.
Okay.
So here this section S1, like S1 is an object, no, sir?
Yeah.
So S1 can have many like S1 dot section name. We can get that.
Yeah.
So
It is an object.
here it is filtering out that section ID.
No. It is not filtering out section. I mean this section, no. This section. I mean whatever I put as a backref, the value to that backref is always an object. Okay. You don't have to worry what is there inside an object. I mean what all columns are there in the object. Don't have to worry about that.
So if I do b1 dot sect, I will get 2.
b1 dot sect. Yes, you should get 2. Yeah. Should I show you? b1 dot sect.
No, sir.
Yeah, it is 2. So all the see, once the book is added to the section, all the attributes, I mean which other books were sharing of that section, this book will also have the same. Okay, what we are doing, we're adding a book to the section, only the way of adding is different, otherwise everything remains same. Initially we were giving sect equals to 2 because we knew what the primary key was. Now, since I just have the object, I don't need to know what the primary key is, even though I can easily get, right, s1 dot section ID. That would be the primary key, right? And I could have add sect equals to 2. That is one way. I'm just saying an alternative to do that. Okay. And how we are getting this alternative, this Backref is providing us that. Okay. It depends on you what you have to use. You can directly go with Backpopulates. I mean, not use Backref. Use Backpopulates both the sides, then go with the primary key also. No issues. Both the codes are same. I mean, whatever we have done, idea is to achieve the functionality, right? All these are, whatever I'm saying is like just some development and some development. That's it. It's just that you should not have confusion. Okay, somewhere you're seeing Backpopulates, sometimes you're seeing Backref, somewhere you're seeing overlaps. All those things does some or the other thing, but at the end result is same. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're just trying to remove that confusion of when to use Backpopulates, when to use Backref. That is the thing. Okay, right. All right. This is something about Backref. Okay. Now the thing is, initially, I mean the last session we saw. Okay, whatever we did here is creation of an object, right? We created a new book, added to the database. Okay. Whatever I did here was actually retrieving some information from the database. This information was already there. I just retrieved it. What did I do? I read the information, right? This is read. Okay. Whenever I was creating an object and storing it to database, what I would say, I will do the create operation. Okay. Yes. Now, if I want to change the name of book, let's say B1 equals to, I mean, B1 dot book name. Okay. What is B1 dot book name? Let me see now. It is area of triangle. If I write B1 dot book name and assign it to some other value, let's say area of rectangle. Okay, and do this will update the book name, right? So it is changed from area of triangle to area of rectangle. This operation is update, right? Only thing I need to do is commit it, right? So we have seen that how to create an object, how to read the data, I mean read the object, and how to update the object. The only thing we did not see was how to delete the object, right? And deleting becomes tricky when I mean deleting becomes tricky, a bit tricky. Why? I will show. Okay, so let's see. Here, this is section and this is books. Okay, and we have okay, there are so many books and so many sections. Let's see. I want to delete this book colors. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll simply get it from the database. We know multiple ways of getting it through the database, either if by the primary key or by the name filter by. But the thing is, filter by is bit a long way, so we'll just retrieve it from primary key, or right. So we know that the primary key is 5 of this colors book, so we'll just retrieve it from the database. Okay, so let me commit this first. Yeah, so if I see back in the database and see the book, yeah, it's reloaded, it will become a rectangle, right? So we saw the all the three functionality or the three operations, that is create, read, and update, right? Now we'll see how to delete, right? So what I'll do, I'll just simply create an object and retrieve that assign, to create object is to retrieve from the database and assign to it, right? So here I will retrieve it from the database. How will I do that? It's book dot query dot get, and I guess it was 5. Okay, so I got b1. Let's say b1 dot book name colors. Now I want to delete this. So what I'll do, I'll simply, the way I added the same thing, I'll do delete. db dot session dot, instead of add, I'll use delete. So I'll write b1. Okay, db dot session dot delete b1. Okay, and then db dot session dot all right. So the book colors is now gone. Okay, so this is how you delete. Okay, this is how you delete an object or a record from the database. Okay, similarly, can we do with section? Yeah, similarly we can do with the section. So what I'll do is I'll retrieve a section from database and try to delete it. But just note that while deleting the data, deleting a book, was it having any dependency? Dependency as in it will get deleted from the database, nothing will happen. Okay, fine. But if I delete a section, from the database, what will happen to its children? What will happen to the books that were in that section?
That should also get deleted.
Will it happen by itself?
No, sir, we have to cascade it.
Yeah, that's what, right? So, but yeah, okay, you know that there is something called as cascade, that is okay. But what is actually happening in the database? And note that if we have created this object, for example, what will happen? This section sec, it is having some section ID. Okay, what is the in the section? I goes, okay, these are the section. Let's say I want to delete 3, literature. What will happen here? From here, this 3 will go, right? Because there is no record in the database that has primary key as 3, right? So this will become null. But the condition that we have put is that it cannot be null, right? The sec column of book cannot be null, right? So it will not allow you to delete, or it will throw error. Okay, just let's see what happens. So let's say we created that section, which is section dot query dot get. Okay, so this section's S must be capital. So section dot query dot get. What was the this is okay, want section literature 3. Okay, now I'll simply try to delete it. So what is happening? Some error, right? What it is saying that not null constraint is getting failed. Okay, not a null constraint is getting failed. Why? Because you are not allowing the sec to remain null, and deleting the section would delete the primary key of your book, right? So this have to be dealt with, right? This have to be dealt with. And also, what is the condition? For example, it can be easily dealt if I remove this nullable equals to false. Okay, if I remove this nullable equals to false, my sec can remain null. Okay, and deleting the book will not, deleting the section will not cause any harm. But what it will do, it will leave your books orphan, right? There will be no parent to these books. There will be no section for the book. Okay, so books will be there in the database, but there will not be any section for those books, right? So that is, we don't want anything to happen. We don't want this inconsistency to take place in the database, right? That is why what we are doing is that is why we are using some more things to remove this. So this is not actually the solution, right? Nullable equals to false will solve the problem, but this is not the actual solution. Why? Because what if I want every book to have every book to have a section? There cannot be a book that does not have any section. That is the that is a rule, that is a requirement that I want. How do I make sure that happens, right? So nullable equals to false will not solve the issue in the long run, right? So how do we take care of that? So what we do is, there is a parameter called as, or there is an attribute called as cascade. Okay, what is cascade? One being dependent on other, third being dependent on second. So cascading one after the other. Okay. So what happens if the parent element gets deleted? Cascade make sure that others also get deleted. Okay, how to do that? We'll set cascade, and how to make sure that all the children of that parents get deleted when a parent gets deleted is all, comma, delete. So we have to set it like this, right? If this is set like this, even if I don't even if I don't remove this constraint, what will happen? My parent will get deleted. I mean, my section will get deleted, and all the books that belong to that section will get deleted. Okay, this is what the cascade does. Yeah. So this is what cascade does. Is this the only way? No, right? We can have it. We can do it manually. For how can we do it manually? What we can do? Let's say if I let me go to the console. Okay, so we will exit it. Okay, let's say I don't know what cascade was. Okay, some of you may have known. Okay, there is something called as cascade which does that. Let's see if I don't know what cascade and all is there. Okay, I don't know how to use it. What can I do to make sure that this constraint is not removed? I mean, this nullable equals to false constraint is not removed, and I make sure that whenever I may delete a section, all the books that belong to that section get deleted. What I can do, let's say if I want to delete a section called as let's say a section called as literature. Okay, this is the literature I want to delete. Manually, what I can do, I can first retrieve all the books that belong to literature. Manually, I can do that, right? Then delete all those books. Okay, and then finally delete the section, right? Did you get what I said just now?
Yes, sir.
Right, so that is a manual way, right? What you can do, you can retrieve all the books that belong to the particular section, delete all those books, and then delete the section. Okay, so if I didn't know this, you can still do the required, right? Still the requirement can be solved. Let us try to do that first. Okay, so let me save this. Yeah, so what okay, let me open all this formalities. Let me do Python. So let's say I want to delete all the books that belongs to literature, right? Currently, it is not allowing me because that there is a constraint called nullable equals to false. So what I'll do, I'll retrieve. So let's say S1 equals to section dot. It's not, the queue is not capital. Section dot query dot get. Okay, I guess it was 3. Literature 3. Okay. Okay, here I got the section. Okay, now I'll retrieve the books. So what I'll do, books equals to book dot query dot filter by. Okay, filter with what, with this S1, right? So we know that this S1 has a primary key, which is foreign key, which belongs to column sec in books. So what I can do, sec equals to S1 dot section ID, right? I can filter the books like this, and then I want all the books, so I'll write all. Okay, let's see if this comes. Now if I write books, I'll get, okay, there is one book, toe, right? And so there's a background noise. Okay, just ignore that. If there is a lot of disturbance, just let me know. Okay, so this is the book that I wanted, right? Now what I'll do, I'll go to the database and see this. This book is actually a collection. Okay, I mean, this books, the object that I created, books, is actually a collection. So it will be in the list, and there will be a case where we can have multiple books, so many books. For example, here in this books, here the toe, this is the book T, theory of everything actually, and this belongs, there is only one book. But what if I go to mathematics, there will be more than 2, right? 4 books will be there. Okay, so you cannot simply delete the go and delete the collection, right? Collection will not be deleted. What comes within this, I mean, not this, here, right? Here in the add and come delete, what does come inside the object, right? So what we will do, we will iterate through this list. Okay, we will iterate through this list. So I can write for book in books, or book in books. What we need to do now, this book is actually an object. So what I can do, db dot delete dot db dot session dot delete, and then I'll have to delete this single object. Okay, once this is done, then I will commit the session dot commit. Okay, now if I hit enter, now that book got deleted. Okay, now once the book is deleted, I don't have any dependency. Even the section does not have any dependency. Then I can delete the section, right? So db dot session dot delete s1. Okay, now before we commit, we'll see here. So if I reload, see the time theory of everything went. Okay, so there is nothing in the set which has 3, so no constraint would fail, because nothing will become null when I delete the section, right? So I'll go to section here, and I will make this, I'll make this change to the database. Okay, so now if I reload this, I see that, okay, the literature also went. Okay, I'll just take a 2 minutes break till this player gets over. Okay, because this is a little loud. Okay, I'll just mute myself. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So yeah. Yes. Somebody raised hand, right?
Yes, sir, that's me.
Yeah.
Can you go to the Python interpreter again? So db.session.commit inside the for loop. Okay, it is just for every book object we are deleting it. Instead of it being inside the for loop, if it is outside the, if we take it outside the for loop at one go, it will delete all the book objects which have been deleted.
Correct. So what you're saying is to write this db.session.commit just above db.session.delete as one, right?
No, I'm saying write it outside the for loop. Don't indent it at all.
Yeah, fine. That will also work, right? No issues.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
The thing is, just we have to make sure before committing the delete operation of section, we have to commit that all the books are deleted. That is why I'm using commit twice, right?
Right, sir.
Yeah. So whatever you said is also fine. For example, this will also work for book in books. Okay, it is, yeah, db.session.delete book, and then end the for here itself. Okay, and then here we can write commit. I mean outside here. Okay, so it will, what it will do, it will iterate through the collection that we have, delete them, keep on deleting them, right? And then finally we'll do a commit, and after this commit, we'll delete the section and again commit.
Got it, sir. Got it.
Yeah, that is also fine. Okay, so this is one way of deleting, but the thing is, this will obviously you can see that you are iterating through, so this will definitely add some some time constraint, right? So many entries getting deleted for that. Just to make just to this done in one line or one piece of code is to add cascade. That is what we are doing with cascade. So having the knowledge of cascade is something that is optional, but you need to make sure that if there is a constraint, there is something like non-nullable, then you have to make sure that all the for deleting a parent element or for deleting a parent record, you will have to make sure all its children are deleted first, right? So that is the whole purpose of having cascade. But now that we understand how it actually works, what actually happens in the background, right, we can simply use it, right? So I'll just write all. This will take care of whatever code we have written here. Okay, so we'll try to delete a parent with this thing added also. Okay. Yeah, so it will show some error because we have just written, right? So I'll just exit because I made change in the code, and I'll import it once again. Python from mathematics was 2. Okay, I got the section and add. So delete S1. Yeah, so see, now it did not throw any error, and also if we check the database in section, mathematics should go, right? And if we see the books, all the books that belong to mathematics automatically went. So this is a one line code for what we have done in Python ManyToMany. Okay, this is bare minimum that we need, one-to-many relationship. Okay, now there is another relationship called as many-to-many. Okay, so we'll see that now. So before I go to many-to-many relationship, any doubt in one-to-many relationship?
Sir, one tangential doubt. If I set my database by hand, SQLite using the SQLite 3 binary or DB browser or whatever tool, and in that I specify on delete cascade, on update cascade, things like that, and it's not there in my Flask code, Python code, does that cause bad things to happen, or they should exactly be the same?
So where exactly you want to put this cascade?
So let's say I'm invoking the SQLite 3 command, and I'm making database.sqlite 3. Inside that, I'm creating two tables, section and book. And within that, I have section ID, section name, and book ID, book name. And against every, and I have a foreign key called section ID within book. And I'm writing inside my database while creating the database, while creating the table, I'm writing on update cascade, on delete cascade. And it's not there in the Python code. Is this not important? If this is not important, kindly ignore. But do bad things happen if the Python code and my database code are different?
No. So where? So you're saying that you're manually creating the database, is it? The tables.
Yes. Yes.
So then why are you, writing classes?
From the point of view of, so I'm repeating this course, from the point of view of later on, when I want to add more tables, I will create another classes file or something like that.
Okay, but the thing is, see, if you are, if you are setting some parameters in the table, in the database, there is, and then again creating a class for doing the same. And when you create database with this class, okay, that is there in the Python, whatever you gave commands that you gave to that table explicitly in the database will get overwritten.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank
Right?
you.
So you can, so see what happens when you give the command db.creator. Okay, what it will do, it will create tables based on what you have defined your classes as. Okay, it will not consider what was already there. Okay.
And if there was data in my database, like say there was data in my database, that will get deleted as well?
No. So generally what will happen is it will show that it has created database, because if the database name is same, but I guess these changes that are there in the classes will not will not appear on the already existing database. You will anyway have to delete the database.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the thing is, if you so if it's, let's say I have this my data om already there. Okay, some data already there, and that data is based on what classes, what tables you have defined and what parameters you have given to those tables. Okay, fine. If I try to run this program with the same database name, it will not overwrite that database for now. Okay.
Okay.
To have this, to have all this given in classes, all these attributes to take place in the database, you'll have to delete the database and create it once again. Overlapping is not done. Overwriting of file is not done.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay,
once you overwrite, whatever was there before will go.
Got it. So I have to delete any which ways and make a fresh database.
Yes, yes. And if in this class, if you do not have this cascade and you had on delete and on cascade there, that will not make any sense. Why? Because that you have to overwrite, and overwriting will remove your cascade thing, right?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, Charles.
Yeah, sir. Just wanted to ask, this db.relationship maps to the foreign key, right?
db.relationship maps to the foreign.
The books is equal to db.relationship. In the earlier, like before this, there were two relationships that we had written. And in both cases, the mapping was done to the db.foreign key section.
Yes, correct.
So this is the case for one-to-many, right? So
Yes.
in many-to-many, it changes.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. One more thing. The dot query is a method in the db.model, right? Because it's a class and then you're calling a method.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And that, see, so whenever you're using this query, right, dot query, you're using it with class name, right, section dot query, which is inherited from db.model.
Yeah, correct. Thanks.
Okay, all right. So I'll just exit this. And now we'll go to many-to-many relationship. Although I wanted to go to application first, but okay, we'll finish the relationships first. So the thing is, what happens is the way the tables are created you may have till now, I guess, whatever you have read, you at least you'll have the idea that, okay, the tables that are created for one-to-many and many-to-many are different, right? Different as in you will have some extra things and some things remove. Okay, so I just don't want to delete, overwrite this file, because I want to give this complete project as a resource for you to refer later. That's why what I'll do, I'll create another database and another file for many-to-many relationship. All right, that is the reason I've written dbom for one-to-many, so that I can have this file completely different and one for the many-to-many. Right. So what I'll do is I'll create another file. Just name it as app2.py. Okay, and yeah, but mostly the subtle things like configuration and all remain same. So I'll copy the same thing from here to here, right? And then what actually changes is this. Okay, here instead of om, I'll write mm, meaning many-to-many. So it will, when I do db.create all, it will create another database, right? It will not overwrite this. Anyway, it will not, right? So this is one. Okay, now the thing is here, now you have to forget that one book, one section can have multiple books, and one book can belong to only one section. That is not the case, right? Here we will say that, okay, a book can belong to multiple sections also, and a section can have multiple books. That is the reason we call it many-to-many relationship, right? Initially, what was happening, since a section was unique, unique as in it cannot, a book cannot share multiple sections for one-to-many, right? A book could not share multiple sections. That is why there was no extra column in section, but there was an extra column called sect in books. Why? Because every time when I go to database, I also wanted to specify what section it belonged to, whereas it was not necessary for section to write what books it has. Right? There was an independent section, and whenever I wrote about book, I had to also define what section it belongs to. Right? Now, in case of many-to-many, what I will say, this will also be there. It is important to specify the section of book, but along with that, in many-to-many, it is also important to specify the book within the section. Right? It is also important to specify the book within the section. Right? So anyway, we are thinking to have 3 columns for even books also. For book also and for section also. Right? Now, instead of having 3 columns, one extra column for book and one extra column for one extra column in section, only specifying, okay, what belongs to what belongs to what we'll do is we'll have an individual different table that will only give what belongs to what, this relation, right? Which books belongs to what and which section contains which book, right? So that is the case in many-to-many. What happens, we create one more table which will only contains the relationship that is exchanged by the section and book. Okay, that is one thing that we take care about in many-to-many relationship. Okay, so And generally, if you have seen in many places, this generally this table is called as association table, which is very intuitive because it already, I mean, it gives the information. It has two rows and it gives the information of relation or the association, what section, what book, what section, like that, right? So since we do that explicitly, for I mean, we create another table, an external table, extra table for just specifying the association. We do not need this here, right? We do not need this here. Okay, so I'll put it in another table. First, I'll create the association table. Class spelling mistake, still a mistake. Now it is association. Okay, and then we will again inherit with db because we want those attributes dot model. Okay, now what I'll do is whatever I've written here, I'll remove it from here and write right here. Okay, so what I've done here, and what did it belong to actually? By the way, this also, I mean, let me reframe it from one second. So what was this column actually doing? This column was specifying in one-to-many relationship. This column was specifying the section in which the book belonged to. Now, since we are having another table, we will all, I mean, we will write only those columns which relate those. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll take one column from section. It will be definitely section ID, because the relationship is generally formed between the IDs, right? Section ID from here, section and book ID from here. Okay, so I've taken section ID from here and book ID from here, but these are actually foreign keys, right? So these are primary keys of section and book table, but they are foreign key in the association table, so that we need to specify. Okay, so what we'll do, I'll write here db dot foreign key. Okay, db dot foreign key. So this section ID is foreign key from where? From sections, right? So section dot section ID. Okay, this will come as a string. Okay, note that we are taking in wherever we are using foreign key, this s will be the table name, not the class name. Okay, and similarly here we'll write db dot. Now this book ID is foreign key from which table? Book table. So we'll write book dot book ID. Okay, again in. All right. Now one thing is there. So since this, there is a primary key attribute here, right, for section ID, and also there is a primary key attribute here in book ID. What does this mean? We are having two primary key in association table, is it? Or do I have to remove one primary key from one? Any idea here?
Sir, I think having both of them will be wrong.
Okay.
My reasoning is that in this table, there can be many section IDs and many book IDs because it's a many-to-many relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So neither of them can be primary key here.
Okay. Correct. So your understanding is correct. But let me, individually section ID cannot be a primary key. Why? Because there can be multiple multiple section ID because we are using many-to-many, right? So one book can have even multiple sections. So there can be multiple section ID. Same goes with book ID. There cannot be a single book ID because it is not unique. So it cannot individually be the primary key. Okay. What will I do? I'll keep these two as it is. I mean, put primary key true here also and primary key true here also. What does that do? It will not make these two primary keys for a table. That is not going to happen. what is going to happen? It will create a combination of these two and make it a primary key. Okay. So what do I mean with that? See, in a table, you can have multiple section ID. It will not be unique. In a table, I mean, in the association table, you can have multiple book ID. It will not be unique. But you consider about the combination. Okay. If you see about, I mean, if you talk about the combination, that is 1, 1, let's say section ID 1, book ID 1, section ID 1, book ID 2, section ID 2, book ID 1. This combination will always remain unique. Okay, because it is sufficiently deriving the relationship. Okay, so what will happen? Both section ID and book ID combination is primary key. I hope you have the idea that in a table, multiple rows can together become a primary key. Not multiple rows, multiple columns. Okay, in that case, what do we check? The combination, I mean, every single permutation becomes a primary, a unique ID. See, one section ID is not unique. One book ID, one means number 1. Book ID is not unique, but 1, 1, this combination can remain unique. Okay, so in the association table, what we'll do is we'll keep section ID, combination of section ID and book ID as primary key. For that, if I do this for both, it will not generate 2 primary keys. It will make this combination as primary key. Any doubt what I said just now?
Composite key will be the primary key.
Composite key will be the primary key. Do you call this, I mean, section ID and book ID together as composite key?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so then it is a primary key. Right, so this combination will become a primary key. This is okay. Is this okay? Any doubt here?
No doubt, sir.
So you understand, right? We are not individually setting a primary key. We are setting the combination as primary key. So let's say if I write, I mean, a table. So if I, okay, let me think.
Authors.
Yes. Hello.
A table authors, you can probably make.
I'm not creating another table. Why? Because we want to deal with 2 tables and how they are related. So we'll not create any other table. I'm just trying to show the example. Okay, for example, see if I have 1, 1. Oh, sorry, 1, 1. So this tuple actually represents a pair of section ID and book ID. Okay. 1, 2. Okay. 2, 1 and 2, 2. What does this say? Book with, I mean, section ID with section 1 has book ID 1 as it's one of the books and book ID 2 as it's one of the book. Okay. Similarly, section 2 also has book 1 as it's one of the book and book 2 as it's one of the book. Okay. Now, if I go otherwise, I will say book ID 1 belongs to section 1 and book ID 1 also belongs to section 2. Right? Book ID 2 belongs to section 1 and book ID 2 also belongs to section 2. So we are talking about many-to-many relationship. Okay, so one book can belong to many sections. One section can have multiple books. Okay, fine. But if you look at these combination explicitly, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1 and 2, 2, they are not unique. Altogether, they are not unique. Right? So this tuple or this group is the primary key because the group is unique. Right? This is what is happening in association table. Right? Did I make it a bit clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so okay, so if there is still a confusion, you can go through this lecture once again when it comes live, right, or comes to the YouTube. But this is what we are doing. The combination in many-to-many table, the combination might remain unique. So that is why we are setting both as primary key. Okay. And since we have set this thing, we do not need other things, right? So that is why I've removed this extra column we don't want. Okay, one thing that we want is this Backref, because I can, this Backref not only, if you see, it allowed me to add a book to a section, right? So Backref I'll keep, but to make sure that what association it should go, I mean, it should both section and book should refer to this association table. I'll have to write something here. I'll have to write something here so that many-to-many relationship is established. Okay, what is that? This cascade delete is not required now. I'll tell you why. But what is required is secondary. Secondary. Okay, so whenever we talk about many-to-many relationship, we use this attribute secondary. What does it say? Secondary says that you have to refer to association table. Okay, you have to refer to association table. Now the thing is, again, we are referring to a table, right? So we'll write association, small a. So you have to refer to association table when you are talking about many-to-many relationship, because the relationship is established in this association table and not in any other column. There are no columns here. Okay, so this is how we set this thing, many-to-many relationship. Now, before writing secondary, I removed cascade. Why do I need to remove cascade? I'll tell you. See, so when I talked about one-to-many relationship, okay, and when I was deleting a section, all the books I wanted, all the books that belong to that section, to get deleted. If I don't do that, what will happen to the books? They will become orphan. I mean, they will not have any parent. They will not have any section, right? But that was the case in one-to-many. In many-to-many, we know that a book can belong to multiple sections, right? So if I delete one of the section, it can still belong to another section. So do I need to delete that book when I delete a section? No. Right? That's why we do not need cascade. Is this clear?
Sir, can you please repeat the secondary?
Yeah. Okay, fine. Secondary. Secondary one.
Yes, sir.
See, so what is happening? Initially, so what was happening here? Here I had defined a row called sect, right? Which was using a foreign key. Okay, which was foreign key, and the foreign key was primary key to the table section, right? Why was I doing that? Because my database, I need to explicitly define a column and state what section this particular book belongs to. Okay, what section this particular belongs to. So I did not have to, so here I was doing it explicitly, right? Now what I'm doing in many-to-many relationship, I'm defining another table, right? I'm defining another table for many-to-many relationship. If that is the case, both this section and this book should know that, okay, there is some table association that will establish relationship between us, a relationship between our primary keys. How do these classes know about it? By saying that, okay, there is a attribute called secondary, which states the, I mean, which, what does this attribute take as a value? It takes the name of table. Which table? This association class. Okay. So this db.relationship understands that, okay, the relationship between the section and books is formed in association table, right? This is what we are trying to do. Is secondary clear now?
Sir, why is that line not present in class book also?
Because we are using Backref.
Right.
So when we are using Backref, initially when we were not using Backref, we were using Backpopulates. So this both, I mean, this collection here and collection here was also required. Section, right? Section was the connection. But
Correct.
Since I'm using Backref, I do not need to create a container in book. Okay, so if I do not need to create a container in the book, and this I mean, the redundancy is taken care of by this books itself, I need to specify secondary once. I mean, this db.relationship is to be specified only once. Right?
Got it, sir.
Yeah. So the idea that we are not using Backpopulates is preventing us from using another row here. Okay, if you want to use Backpopulates, you'll have to add one more row here. Also give secondary association. Okay, that is why it does not have here in books. Another feature what Backref provides does to provide section when you are declaring itself. Okay, so this is one thing that we have to do. Okay, this is how we establish many-to-many relationship. Just give me a minute. Hello. Yeah. Okay, so this is how we create the many-to-many relationship. Now let us test it. Okay, so we'll go back to our console, use Python, and then from this time from app2 we'll be importing things, right? From app2 import star. From app2 import star, and also we have to create the database first. So now the database is created. Let me open that database. Yeah, this one. Okay, now I'll go back to data structure, and we see that there are three tables. Okay, so book 1 has book ID, book name. Section will have section ID, section name, and then association will have section ID and book ID. Okay, and if you see this primary key attribute, so it is like a combination primary key. Okay, this is how we create the table for many-to-many. Now let us try to add some data. Okay, so I'll create 2 books and 2 sections, right? S1 equals to section section name. Okay, let's say science. Okay, see the fact that we are using Backref, it is letting us, okay, it is not giving us that warning. Okay, so that is what it does. S1, then we'll have S2. Mathematics. Hey, sorry. So I first have to do section 1, then mathematics. I over wrote that, right? So I need to create this S2. Okay, so now there are 2 sections. Okay, and then I will add 2 books. P1. Okay, it's better to write from the scratch because so many things we have to change in book. So B1 equals to book. Book name equals to, should I write science and maths volume 1. I'm creating book name so that I can justify it can belong to both the sections. Okay, so science and maths volume 1. Note that I am not providing the sect. Okay, I'm not providing sect, I'm not providing the section by using Backref. Why I'm not doing that? Because book 1 can belong to both the section. If it can belong to both the section, why should I provide any section here within the book? I mean here, while creating the book itself. Why should I explicitly provide? It can belong to any other section. So I'll simply create the book and keep. And this is the good thing about ManyToMany, that a book may or may not belong to any section, right? Any other section. That is the case. So it will, there is no case of orphan and stuff in ManyToMany. Okay. So I'll just create another book. Volume 2. Okay, Science and Maths Volume 2. Okay, and then I'll add all these things into the database. So like db dot session dot add underscore on. So when I have multiple things to add, I can use this. So it is S1, S2, B1, B2. Okay, and then I'll do the commit. Yeah. So now if I see into the database, browse data, I'll reload it. I have nothing into the association table. Why? Because I did not provide any section for a book. I did not say this section belongs to this book. So no relationship formed till now. But if I see book, I'll see that there are 2 books. If I see section, I can see that there are 2 sections. Okay. How to fill this association table? Do I have to explicitly write, I mean, something like this, make an object A1 association, something like this? If I do this, do I have to fill explicitly what is there here, this section? No, right? There can be another way, a better way. We are creating association table so that it gets filled automatically as soon as we make the relationship. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, you can see that Science and Maths Volume 1, this means it can belong to both the sections. So what I'll do, S1 dot books. This is the collection where I want to add the book. Why? What is this book where I've written from? This one, right? Books. This is the collection where I want a book to get added, right? So I'll write S1 dot books dot append. Okay, B1. Okay, what will happen? That book will be added to section science. Okay, similarly I can do for B2. Okay, so B2 is also added in section 1. Similarly I can do for S2. I mean, I want this book to get added into S2 also because it has maths component, right? So S2 dot books dot append and S2 dot books dot append B2. Okay, and then I'll do db dot session dot commit. So once I do this, now I'll see that my association table has group of primary keys. Right? This is how I feel the association table. I did not do explicitly anything in the association table. I simply appended in this collection. Right? Simply appended my books in this collection. And then my association table kept track of what is getting added in what. Okay. So now if I see back, let's say I write S1 dot books, S1 dot books, it will give me both the books. Okay. And yeah, it will give me both the books, right? And if I write, what should I write? S2 dot books, it will give me both the books because both books are part of S1 and S2, which is pretty evident that the books and the sections are sharing many-to-many relationship here, right? Any doubt here? Any doubt?
Sir, how is the delete working if I delete a section in this case or delete a book in this case?
Yeah, nothing. So see here, as I said, if let's say if I a book can in many-to-many, you can assume that a book can belong to multiple sections, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct. So if a section is deleted, should it affect the book?
No, but it should. It may affect the association.
Correct. Yeah. So the only change that will happen in the association table, right? So for example, if I delete this. So if I, let's say if I delete B1, right? So db dot session dot delete B1. It will, so what will happen? The effect will be seen in the books table also, because you're deleting a book, and the association table also, right?
Sir, how is it? How is the current class model making it go away from the association table? Which part of the code? Can you please show that?
Go away from the association table as in?
Like if I delete, if I run db.session.delete B1, I know that B1 gets deleted from the book table. Okay. But how is it getting deleted from association table also?
This component together.
Okay,
what I said, a combination has to be unique. Okay. You cannot have a combination of 1 comma null.
Got it, sir. Got it, sir.
Right.
Got it.
So since it is a primary key, and then what is the primary key? It should be a combination of 2 things. If one of the things get deleted, that primary key is destroyed.
Got it, sir. That's all I was asking. Which part of the code?
Yeah. So if I delete this and db dot session dot add, sorry, commit. Yeah. So what will happen? First thing, I deleted a book, right? So my book went, and then that association will go. Okay, because what I deleted, a book with book ID, I guess 1, right? So I cannot have any combination. For example, what I've written here, I've written these things right here, 1 comma 1, sorry, 1 comma 1, 1 comma 2, 2 comma 1, and 2 comma 2, sorry, 2 comma 2, right? So I cannot have any combination that has second component as 1. Okay, so this will get deleted and this will get deleted. So I may have both the sections, but I'll have only second. See, I have both the sections, but I have only second.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so this is how we form many-to-many relationship. Okay, and the fact that how I mean, there are minute differences between both the code. That is the reason I kept both the codes intact, right? So I'll share this project with you so that you have the access to both the codes. Okay, any doubt in relationship till now what we saw? Like, I mean, from yesterday's session and today's session altogether.
Sir, I have only one problem, sir. Actually, I am not understanding the Backref part. I mean, okay, like what it is doing, I am understanding, but how it is doing that, if you can.
Okay, how it is doing that? Should I code that?
No. Just like you are telling, na, like it adds a column and then.
Yeah. See, so that's what. So what it does is this Backref acts a pseudo column. You don't have to create a column. This column will not be there in the table, but it will allow. I mean, so this this Backref has good meaning when we see the one-to-many relationship. What happens here? Here there is a sect column, right? But it will create a pseudo column called as section. See what happens in one-to-many relationship. When I was adding a book, what I was adding, or any, I mean, if you see, look at any object, whenever you are creating, how will you create? You'll write the class name in bracket and you will give the values of these things explicitly. Okay. Section ID, section name. I mean, section ID is not required because it's already primary key. Books is not required because it's not at all a column. If you see, db.column is not there in books, so it is not a column, right? But here, if you see in books, it is again db.column. Sect is db.column. This books, it is not a column, right? And there is no column present here. Okay. So what you do whenever you create a book, I'll just write here only. So let's say I want to create an object in book. Okay, so I'll write book and I will specify the values of column, what I want them to go in as a database. So book ID, let's say book ID, what is happening internally? Book ID, it will take as 1. Okay, this I don't have to specify, this will happen. Okay, book ID, it will take as 1. 1 is random. Okay, then what it will do? Book name, I'll have to specify. Book name, I'll have to specify. Okay, it is a part, it is a string, right? Because you have defined it as a string. So we'll write book 1. Okay, and third thing, sect we can provide, sect equals to 2. That's all right. But sect equals to 2 is helpful when you know the primary key of what? Of the section already there in the database. Okay, let's say you don't know the section or the primary key. Okay, you don't know how to retrieve it also. This Backref provide you ability to create a pseudo section here. Okay, if I mean, you can write these left LHS only those which are actually column. Okay, apart, I mean, I cannot write here any something like this book pages. I cannot create my own column here, right? Why? Because this is not there, right? If this is not there, I cannot put it here. I cannot write book pages. But what Backref does is it provides you to take this as a section. I mean, an LHS. Okay, it allows you to take it as a attribute and give it an object value. That will also work. This functionality is provided by Backref, and this is more evident in one-to-many. Why? Because in one-to-many relationship, while defining the book itself, we give or we specify its section.
So, so in the previous case, when we were not using Backref, we were explicitly storing the primary key of that section in sect, correct?
Yeah, that was the only way you could have added a particular book to a section.
Yes, sir. So now we are not explicitly doing anything. We are just creating a pseudo column, and inside that we are just storing the object.
Object, yes.
We are not like bothering like what part of the object it is storing or which attribute it is taking. We just know that it is just storing that object.
Object, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
So, sir, here section is, what does section here mean?
Where?
In section is equal to S2. Does this section relate to the table name?
No. This section relates to the attribute. I mean, see, what you want to do whenever you created a book, you consider not this, you consider only one-to-many relationship, right? So whenever we created one-to-many relation, whenever we created a book in one-to-many relationship, what did we do? While creating the book, we, provided all these attributes, their values, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you forget about this section, and a book cannot remain orphan, right? You cannot create a book without specifying what section it belongs to. Correct? Correct. So if I want to create a book, I'll have to provide this column, which I've explicitly created, right? db.column. Okay. But what is the requirement of this sect? It is an integer, right? And what that integer refers to? The foreign key. Okay, what is this foreign key? The primary key of section. This means if you want to assign a section to a book, you should know the primary key of that section. It is like if you want to call somebody, you should know the number of that person.
Yeah, that I got. But then you wrote instead of you wrote section, right?
That's what. So this, which is not feasible, right? Knowing number of everybody, knowing primary key of every section, is not feasible, right? It is not right. So what you do is this Backref property. If you define this Backref property in db.relationship, okay, Backref property in db.relationship, what it says that you consider section as a pseudo column in books class. I mean, what it says is you consider this. And stuff like that. Okay. If this was the case, I mean, if section was the actual column, what I could have done, I would have added section like this, right?
Yeah, got it.
Right. What? So and you don't that's what Backref does. So you don't need to write this, but you can still use it as a column.
So section here is the Backref's variable
value of Backref. Yes.
Value. Yeah, correct. Okay.
Right. So whatever, if you write here section, I mean underscore of underscore books. So what is this? Section of books, right? And then what value it takes? It takes the object. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that is what you have to provide. You don't need to worry about the primary key and stuff of that particular section. Right. So the use of Backref is pretty much evident in one-to-many relationship. Internally, it is allowing you to make only this relationship, db.relationship, and do not override. So see, what I'm saying here will make sense if you thoroughly watch both the session together. Okay, so we have started with simply creating two independent tables, formed a simple relationship with foreign key, then created relationship. Okay, with the relationship, we came across certain problems which we removed by overlaps. Then we took one more step, used Backpopulates. Then we took one more step, took Backref. Then we added something called as delete orphan. I mean all the children. Okay, then we came back to a new relationship, that is ManyToMany. Okay, so if you thoroughly watch this, you will get, okay, what things when I'm writing what. Okay, so is this clear? The relationships. And one-to-many and many-to-many is what you will be using throughout the course, even in your project. Okay, is this fine?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So the thing is, I want to start creating the application. So see, whatever we were doing, we created some model and we were dealing with it. I mean, interacting with it with this Python interpreter shell. Okay, I want it to happen on front end. I mean, I want to make some simple clicks and get everything retrieved. Yeah, all right. So I mean, this is how we define session. Now this is now till now what we have done is whatever we have interacted, wherever we have interacted with these files, we have done that with the command line interface. Okay, I want to convert this interface into a proper interface, a web application, right? So that would be our next step. Okay, now one thing I want to ask you, since it is already 6, should I start with creating the application or should we do it in the next session?
Can you do it in the next session?
Okay. I mean, even I would back that that we should start it with the next session, because I want you to go through both the session once again. Okay, get acquainted with, okay, what are the relationship, what we are doing, and then we'll start off with directly creating the application from next session. Will that be fine?
Yes, sir.
Sir, we have a DBMS session at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock now, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So maybe we can, so what we'll do is we have another session on Saturday. Okay. Till Saturday, you can, go through all this stuff. And then on Saturday, we can start off with creating the application.
Okay, sir.
Will that be fine with everybody? I mean, there are 22 participants.
So Sunday is the submission for the lab assignment. So we can do it on Friday.
I know. So
Sir,
today is
the part that you are going to discuss. How much is that part in the lab assignment? Because what you have told till now, we will create and we will do that on our own. Okay, but the next part we have to see the video. So just asking, like, how much is that in the lab assignment, if you have any idea?
yeah. So see, the thing is, we are with at this place we have done with the models creation. Right now, what we'll do is we in the application, what we want is that our application should show, retrieve data from the database. Okay, some changes to be done on on the books, on the section, right? So right from the starting of the session, which I said, we are talking about a library application wherein there are certain sections, and within that section there are certain books. Okay, and then we can what we can do is we can a user of that application, what he or she can do, he can see, okay, what are all the sections that are there in the library, what are books that are there in the library. Okay, what book belongs to what section, how we go from one page to another, how do we add a new book to a particular section, how do we, and all the CRUD operations, right? So whatever operation we are talking, creating, reading, updating, and deleting, all these are called as CRUD operations. So we will try to perform some CRUD operations with the help of backend on sections as well as on the books. Right, so I guess this pretty much covers a lot of part in lab assignment. Right, in lab assignment also, what you are doing, you are performing some CRUD operations on what is actually the thing, the student and courses, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, so that is what, so you can find that similarity and use that in your, right? See, I would say that if you are saying that, okay, I'll watch this session and then start my code for lab assignment, will also be not something that is good, right? So I hope there are you have come to certain stage of your lab assignment and you are stuck somewhere. So if these sessions will be there to help you come out of those problems, right?
No, sir, I'm stuck in the view part of the code.
Okay. View part as in, yeah, that's what. So getting this information on the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what. So that is what we will be trying to do as a part of the application. Why do we call it as a web application, or why are we calling it as a web application? For the reason that we did not we would not want this command line interface to come in, and I should be directly able to use the front end of application.
Sir, if I may add, in answer to the previous gentleman, there are screencasts also. So if you're stuck in the view part of the application, if you can take a look at I believe in the screencasts, there is information on how to retrieve from database and make it visible on the web page.
Yeah, somebody speaking. Sorry, I missed the last part.
Yes, I was kind of saying there are screencasts along with our lectures. There's some information over there on how to kind of have an app display a web page and how to pass parameters for deleting and things like that.
Yeah, correct. So see, you can use the information, whatever is sent, whatever is, I mean, delivered in these two sessions from your database and controllers at the background. And the problem that you're facing, that is getting that information on the front end, can be easily understood from two sessions. One is all the screencasts for week 5, I guess. Okay, all the screencasts for week 5 and the Solve with instructor session of week 4. Okay, so therein I have created an application where we are not using database anywhere, but we are putting in information through a form and getting it displayed on the screen with a proper design and format. Okay, so that will also help you. And then screencast will help you with routing. Okay, if there is particular doubt on routing, you can go to the Flask documentation. There the routing of Flask is given pretty nicely.
No, sir, I don't have a problem with routing. So I think I'll go to the week 4 solve with this. Thank you, sir.
Sorry. What you're saying?
No, sir, I don't have a problem with routing. So I'll just watch that week 4 solve with this.
Okay. Yeah. So all right. Just let me check the chats. I'm unable to do all the. Hey, is this you? Unable to do all the update, delete, render. Okay. So you are okay with CRUD operations?
No, sir. Yes, I'm able to do all the my assignment works fine in my system, but since I'm not adhering to the protocols in that HTML code that's specified in the lab PDF, so that's why in the IATM portal it's giving me 0 to 0.
Okay, so what you're saying is you're not not using the HTML template that are given in the question statement.
Yes, exactly, sir. So in
they are given for you to use, and not only you, they are strictly to be used. Why? Because
that's like a problem. Like in with my format, I'm able to do all the CRUD operations properly, but with that format, I'm not able to pass and do anything. So I don't know how I have to modify.
Okay, I'll try to help you with that. Can you show me where exactly? Just let me open the problem statement. Just give me. Yeah, so I have the problem statement here. Yeah, let me zoom. Okay, what part? Which
out of all the 4 HTML codes, I'm not having any problem with the last 2, like that. But the first add student, while adding student and updating student, those HTML codes, in that.
Yeah.
In that, I'm having trouble with that int student ID / update. So in the href part, I'm using my own URL for that. So if I'm using this URL, I'm having a problem.
Okay, so are you using as it is?
Yes, sir.
See, the problem is this one from here to here. Int student ID. It is a syntax of Flask routing. Okay. And in the anchor, what you need to put is this has to be replaced. Right? This has to be replaced.
Yes, I've done that in my code. That's what I'm doing, sir. And I'm uploading. I'm making it as a zip file. I'm uploading in the portal. In portal, I'm not passing any test case.
Okay, so what are you passing? I mean, what are you putting in the portal as a zip file? The entire structure, right?
No, in portal my app.py file and template file folder. So with the my working, I'm putting, you specified right now, right? So instead of insert student ID, I have to render the exact student ID, right? So in that code, everything is working fine. That is my original code where everything is working fine. That I'm uploading in the portal, I'm not passing any test case.
No. So I mean, how are you passing these values in student ID update? How are you passing these values to HTML?
I'm getting the values from the database and I'm rendering it in.
Yeah. So some rendering has to be done, right? For example, in student ID, for example, the student ID is 2. The href, whenever you click on update button, should be student ID. I mean /student/2/update.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So that 2 should come. How should that 2 come?
I'll get all the records and I will check for. I'll get the record and render the roll number, render the student ID.
Yeah. But see, but this should take. I mean, this link should take 2 when you click.
Yes, sir. I'm getting it. I'm taking 2. Yeah, yes, sir. I'm getting that. So.
So, are you using Jinja here, or how are you putting?
Yes, sir. I'm using Jinja over there.
Okay, so that change is not. We would say not adhering to this HTML file. This int student ID is given to you so that you understand. Okay, what should come as a link. Okay, but how are you providing it as a link will definitely be done by Jinja. Right? It cannot be done by hard coding or something because that depends on the database.
Okay, sir. Then I have a problem with the form action href as well, sir.
Format as in?
Form action.
Okay, form action. Okay, okay, let me go to some other page where there is, yeah, here it is.
Yeah, in here I don't have a problem. But adding student and I don't have a problem. But yeah, sir, in this one I'm having a problem. In this form action, I'm having a problem.
Is this a form?
Yes, sir. Here, if I'm using this fetch stuff, I'm not able to get my URL. Like I'm not able to render my templates. So
what I mean, is it the problem with action? I mean, the value of action, the link?
Yes, sir. It's coming error 404. I'm able to. I'm using this.
Okay, so did you see what link it shows? I mean, when you hit submit, what is the button?
It shows student ID / the value and then updates.
Yeah, then that is what we are intending to do, right? The action should go to that part only. Then why is it not?
So in that case, I'm able to do everything, but in the portal, I'm not passing any test case. So.
Okay. Okay, fine. All right. Yeah, those who have session can drop off. Those who have other session can drop off. And Shashi, what I would suggest you to okay, I'll give you my mail ID. You send your submission to me. Okay. Let me see if there is any minor issue that is causing the problem. Okay. At least I'll come back to you with what exactly you have to do. Okay. If not the exact solution, because I'm not supposed to give you the exact solution, but I can tell you where you're going wrong or where the system is going wrong in the portal. Okay.
No problem, sir. Just send my code if it's like.
Sorry.
No problems. I'll send my code. So just let me know what needs to be done.
Yeah. That's what. I will at least I'll try to give you the hint if there is something that is getting failed in the portal side.
Oh yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So do you have my email ID or should I share it?
No, sir.
I'm just typing. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so okay, so I hope the content of the two sessions are clear, and we'll try to also so we'll bring this content all together and try to create an application in the next session. All right, that is what we'll try to do. Okay, so yeah, so many participants have left because they have session at 6. So I guess we'll officially close this session here, and I hope the session was helpful. Okay, so fine. So we'll officially close this session here. All right.